Hello everyone, welcome back. Please comment, rate, subscribe, folks. Comment, rate, subscribe, like the videos. Also share the videos. I want to thank everyone that does like watching and share my videos. You folks are the absolute best. Listen folks, there's a link tree down below. Has links to all of my social media platforms. Please go down there, follow me across all my social media platforms and I'll follow you right back. Also down there as well as the links to all of my YouTube pages. Please go down there, subscribe to all my YouTube pages and turn your notifications so when I post content, you folks will be in the know. Listen. Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, we'll be doing a live radio show right here on this channel. We'll be talking Jets. We'll be talking about all the things that the New York Jets have done, roster, all that stuff. We'll be discussing it. So call in. I take live callers. I love going back and forth with folks about this football team. So with that said and done and put to the side, I've come to talk to you folks today about the New York Jets trading Chris Herndon. Okay, and I'm also going to talk to you folks today as well about something hot off the presses. The New York Jets have released Bless Austin. We're going to get into some of the other roster cuts as well. So let's go ahead and discuss this. Listen, I'm going to start off with the trade first, okay? This kind of came out of nowhere, really. You know, ever since the last preseason game, there's been a lot of speculation about roster cuts and movement and stuff like that. So we're all just kind of sitting around trying to see, hey, what are the Jets going to do to get down to the final 53, right? And then boom, a trade comes out of nowhere, okay? The New York Jets traded a 2022 sixth-round pick and Chris Herndon, our tight end, to the Minnesota Vikings for a 2022 fourth-round pick from them. Listen, I thought that this was an amazing move by Joe Douglas, okay? You give up a sixth-round pick, which is a low pick. You get yourself, you rid yourself of Chris Herndon as well. When, I look at the situation like this. In my mind, I don't think Chris Herndon was going to make the team, to be completely honest. This is something I've talked about for quite a long time, especially coming into this offseason, was listen, Chris Herndon needs to put up or shut up. The Herndon Hive was in my mentions constantly, talking about how this was his year and Mike LaFleur was coming from San Francisco, and look what they did with Kittle in San Francisco, and Chris Herndon's going to be our Kittle, and all this other stuff. And I just never really bought into it because we've heard those things constantly about Chris Herndon turning into some mega tight end here for years, and he's never done it, okay? It's always been the same things from Chris Herndon. It's always been injuries, and if he wasn't injured, he was suspended, and if he wasn't suspended, he was dropping footballs. I mean, look at the last year. He fumbled, he costed us games, he was dropping footballs, all that stuff. I was just tired of hearing about the potential that surrounded Chris Herndon. I needed to see him do something out there in the field or I was ready to move on because at the time we had, tight ends that I thought would be able to, push him off the roster. You look at guys like Griffin at the time on the roster. You look at guys like Croft, who we brought in. All these guys, I wasn't sold on Chris Herndon. And here the Jets are making a move, moving on from Chris Herndon, getting capital back for a future draft so we can continue to bring in young guys. I love this move. When you look at what was given up to trade up for Vera Tucker, hey, you get a fourth-round pick back in this trade. Maybe he uses this capital from this trade to move up in this year's draft, and get himself something. Because, again, we have 2 first-round picks in this upcoming year's draft. We have quite a bit of picks now, especially with this fourth-rounder in our pocket as well, so we can really do some things. So I like this move. Chris Herndon, I wish him the best there with Minnesota, but I don't think he was going to make the team here. And he was going to continue to do what he's been doing in the past. I don't think he was going to work out here. So this is a solid trade by Joe Douglas, turning a player into future capital so that we can, continue to move forward and better this football team. So after that, the whole fan base was like, okay, well, we'll see what happens next, what's going on. And then, boom, another ball drops out of nowhere. Now, this was a little bit surprising, okay? The New York Jets released Bless Austin, okay? Now, listen, the only reason why this is surprising, all right, is because was Bless Austin a great corner? No. I'll talk about him constantly here, all right? We all did, all right? Bless Austin was kind of a mediocre corner at best. He was getting cooked. We saw him get cooked all last year. But he was our most experienced corner because cornerback, that position on our defense is one that has the most question marks, all right? So after him, we were saying, okay, well, they released Bless Austin. What does this mean for the New York Jets at corner? Well, You got Hall, who's a guy that we're trying to see what we can get out of him going forward. We need to see more consistency out of him. There were some flashes the rookie year. This is year 2. We need consistency out of you, my friend, right? So to me, in my mind, he moves to that number 1 spot. Well, that number 2 spot is now wide open. It's vacated. Who's going to start there? You got to have one of these young guys start. So now you're looking at guys like Eccles. Is he going to be the starter? We saw Eccles out there. There are some times where he was looking a little shaky, but he made some plays, though, at times as well in this preseason. Guys like Pinnock, guys like Carter. Carter is probably going to be a guy that you're going to see in the slot, but maybe he pushes. We're seeing guys like Isaiah Dunn as well. Isaiah Dunn, he's been a little shaky this preseason, too. Last game against the Eagles, we saw him get cooked deep, all right? We saw this secondary struggle. So some of these young guys are going to get thrust into a starting role, and we're going to see what happens. Now, again, being our cornerback situation, being as shaky it is, you could see us going into games where teams are definitely going to target us and absolutely try to light the sky up. And I'm looking to see, can Sulla and with his defensive prowess, with Ulbrich out there as well, can they scheme to figure out how to make these young guys successful? We've seen Sulla work with defenses that had major injuries. We've seen him take guys that a lot of people looked at and said, these guys aren't very good, and he was able to put them in positions within his defense and make them successful and make them, produce and make plays. So I want to see what he does with this young cornerback situation. The young corners in this league, they struggle. They go through issues at first until they really get their footing and figure things out. So we'll see what happens there, but it's big questions. And also this opens up another question as well. If they don't go with the younger guys, are we looking to go into a market and maybe make a trade? Could the New York Jets be looking to trade for a corner? Maybe that's an option that opens up as well. I know some people started immediately talking about Richard Sherman, and he's had some things going on in his, in the offseason, but I don't know. Maybe he's a guy that they'll continue to look at. Maybe they'll continue to scour the free agency market as well, with other guys getting released, because again, we're second in the waiver wire. So maybe there's a guy that they're looking at that a team might move on from, and maybe we'll be there. So there's going to be some questions there at corner, but again, with Bless Austin being gone, who wasn't a great corner, that opens the door for maybe some of these younger guys for us to snatch something up in free agency. So now I want to go over some of the cuts. I'm not going to go over all of them, just going to go over a couple that definitely made an impact for me. The first one that, first player that was cut that kind of had me go, oh, wow, okay. James Morgan. Joe Douglas cut James Morgan. I know a lot of people had questions and said, would he cut a player that he actually drafted? Listen, James Morgan, we didn't see anything out of him the first year he was here. Then we saw the preseason, and it looks like, Joe Douglas said, hey, it's time to move on. Mike White, to me, in my mind, from, the second that he was out there when Zach Wilson would leave the field, was pretty much the guy that they were looking at to win the spot. And Mike White was efficient. So James Morgan was released, and it looked like he's going to sign with the Panthers. We'll see, because we're going to meet the Panthers week 1, how long he's going to be there. Josh Johnson was also released as well, but it looks like Josh Johnson is back at practice, so it looks like he's going to be on the practice squad. He was a guy that in a little bit of time that he was out there looked solid and impressive. So we'll see what happens with him going forward. They also cut Josh Adams as well. He looks like he's going to get stashed from the practice squad. Vincent Smith was released as well. He's going to be on the practice squad as well, too. That's a guy that I like for us to keep. He was a guy that was out there making plays. You know what I'm saying? So Ryan Griffin was cut. That sucks. Again, our tight end position, he was a guy that I thought would stick around, but maybe with that injury, and they just wanted to move forward from him. So Yeboah was also cut as well, a guy that had that big catch against the Eagles in that last game, to give us that tie. But it's looked like he's going to be stashed on the practice squad as well, so he'll continue to stay with the team and grow. Hamilcar Rashed was released. Now this, I was surprised, because he was a guy that I thought would help the Jets in the pass rush. And we're having issues now trying to gather guys to figure that out, especially since Lawson has gone down with that injury, and then Gerard Davis went down with his injury. So let's see what happens with him going forward. Maybe he's another guy that the Jets is stashed on the practice squad. And the last guy that kind of had me like, was JT Hassel. JT Hassel was released. This was a guy that was making plays as well, rushing the passer. He was a guy that you would hear his name when they would put him out there in those games, against, the competition that he was out there with. So there was some questions, but the New York Jets are, making moves and doing what they got to do. We'll continue to see you know, how they continue to fill out the team, how they attack the waiver wire. There's some players that definitely are going to be out there that the Jets are going to be able to snatch up. So please comment down below. Let me know what you folks think. How do you feel about the New York Jets making that trade for Herndon? You making that trade for the 4th round pick, getting rid of Herndon. What are your thoughts about the Jets releasing Bless Austin? I got to know. So hit me down below in the comments. Let's go back and forth. You folks have a good one. Peace.